All right, guys. So today I'm here with Stretch. His real name is Mark, but we don't really care. We just know him as Stretch, especially in South Jersey. He is a national level competitor as well as a high level coach within the NPC world with IFBB pro clients as well as national level and amateur. So, Stretch, welcome, man. How are you, dude?
Welcome. Thanks for having me, Pat. I appreciate you bringing me on.
No
I
problem,
noticed
brother.
we're in the same shirt also.
That wasn't on purpose. That was literally
Nah,
by
definitely
accident.
wasn't planned.
So, Stretch, since we're on a podcast, a lot of people might not know who you are. Give us a little bit of your background. Like, when did you start getting into bodybuilding? When did you feel like coaching was the direction you wanted to go, and so forth?
Yeah, 100%. So everybody knows me as Mr. Stretch Armstrong, located in the South Jersey area, just out of Philadelphia. So I started competing back in the early 2000s. I really didn't start taking this seriously until 2011, 2012. I was just a typical gym bro. You know what I mean? Chest and arms every day, do some pull-ups, calisthenics. Didn't worry about squatting, didn't worry about doing any type of other type of workouts, man. And it took me faltering many times and getting injured doing stupid stuff to finally being out of the gym to pick up books and start reading and getting knowledge about what was going on, picking up basic
Mhm.
fundamentals that we just don't understand. That we go to the gym when we're young and we move weights around and we expect things and magic to happen. Unfortunately, it doesn't. So I was out of the gym for a long time, probably 6 months with an injury, and I just sat and read. I read a lot of different books, read a lot of different articles, and gained knowledge. And I'm like, wow, I've been doing things completely wrong. And at that age, when you're very young and you've got that fresh testosterone and that recovery, you can recover very quickly. So doing those type of exercises, there was results being made,
Mhm.
just not how they should have been if I was properly executing a plan.
Gotcha.
So, lo and behold, fast forward, I started taking things a lot more seriously. Started really diving into the mechanics of the exercises, the different types of workouts, the different body parts that are affected from workouts. And then, that slowly transitioned into, okay, we're getting that fundamental down. Let's start getting into nutrition. And, everything compiles on each other. And I'm still a student to this day. I'm a firm believer in you should be learning because you're never going to cross the same type of client all the time. Our DNA is a digital makeup that makes us all unique.
Hmm.
No person is a replication of another individual. So, you know, there might be factors that are similar, but just because it worked for this guy and you have similar body types and similar heights and responses doesn't mean that what I throw at you is going to be the same for him.
Right.
Um, so I'm constantly, I'm a student of the game still. I want to learn as much as I can. I want to make sure that I'm giving my clients the best possible product that I can give them. And you've worked with big names. I feel like when you start working with big names in the industry and different types of coaches, you get an idea of how their protocols and how they've fabricated up their programs, and you take pieces of it and you break down and understand why they do certain things, and that helps you move forward in your application of what you're
Mhm.
going to do and how your setup is going to differ, and what favorite supplements you use and favorite foods and why you use certain things. So, I'm at the point now where I've got a good roster of people. It doesn't happen overnight. Unfortunately, we want it to, but it's like anything else. Your resume is the amount of people that you put on stage, and the quality of individual. You can be either a C student and just pass, or you can be an A+ student and be on the honor roll. So the honor roll is when you're putting out pros and you're putting out people that are winning overalls and really crushing shows.
Yeah. What year was it exact year? Like, in other words, there must have been a point where you went, before you had your first client, you were like, let me try this out. Like, what year and what came about to like make you try to do that? Because at first I'm sure you were just, training and trying to build yourself up. Like,
Yeah.
what brought that spark, that, motivation to want to coach?
So being in an industry where it's a very small community, you run into individuals. You can tell right away when you see somebody and they're like, they're shredded to the bone. It's like, hey man, what are you up to? because not a lot of people are walking around at 5-4% body fat. It's like, you got a show coming up? Yeah, man, I'm getting ready for a show in 2 weeks. So I had a lot of people approach me as I was getting ready to do different competitions and shows, and were like, I want you to write me a meal plan. I want you to do this for me and do that for me. And I was still very green at the time. And I would say probably 2017 is around the first time when I started taking on some clients. Now, mind you, I was not doing this for profit. I was not opening up shop and saying, hey, my books are open. This is what I'm charging. My services are now available. I took people that were close to me and that understood my, I want to call it lack of knowledge at the time, and put trust in me to help get them to move forward and get into shape and eventually step on stage. So, I always tell young individuals, you need to get some people, close friends, family members, get one of your aunts, uncles, somebody, and get them involved and get a meal plan going for them and understand what works and what doesn't work. Get a few people in shape,
Yeah.
then start charging individuals. And not only that, but get a real background for yourself and a background and knowledge of competing, because it's not just stepping on stage. There's a lot that goes into it.
When uh when did you feel like that was your niche, man? This is like what you love to do. Like, because I'm sure there's either a client or an instant that makes you go, damn, this is what I want to keep pushing with. This is what I like to do right now.
So it's the satisfaction of not only taking what you've learned, but then applying it and seeing the changes in somebody week to week throughout a prep. And you've been to shows, when you're backstage, even at a local show, there's people who are ready, and then there's people who are ready.
Hmm.
So if you're one of those coaches that gets people ready, you're backstage and you know that you're walking around with the guy or a group of guys, and people are looking and saying, that's the dude to beat today. That's the guy right there. Because you always know who's first place. There's always that clear cut division when you're at a show. You see that one, you're like, that's the guy that's going to win.
Hmm.
You can look at him and you can tell he did the work. His coach knew what he was doing. He prepped him right. He's looking like a champion. So that's what was rewarding to me when I started having people that I was bringing in that were placing very high, and I knew that my application and my work was really starting to show and shine.
Gotcha, gotcha. How often did you put clients in the beginning of two shows? Were you just prepping them for shows right off the bat, or were you just prepping them to get into shape?
So at first, I had a few lifestyle individuals. I had a few people who wanted to compete, and like anything else, depending on what level they were at, we either needed to have a good off season to try to build a better foundation for them. One guy that I still have on my page, Brandon Fitz, that was probably, he was like my first individual to ever really compete. And he made a complete 180 with his physique. He was going to compete this last year, but he just had a beautiful baby girl, him and his wife. And I mean, this guy's structure it's pro. It's a pro level structure. He's got the look. I call him GQ because he's got everything, man. He's got the GQ face. He's got a great body. We took first place in the Big Cat back in 2019, and then he took some time off. And we were going to hit it hard this year because he was going to do a national show. And now that he's got a kid, he's kind of, switched gears. And I respect that. And I told him, I said, you're one of those guys that you would have made it. You would have made it. He just, he puts in the work, and his body just changed and transformed amazingly.
Yeah. It's a shame, but it's not a shame because I get it. He's happy with his life.
Absolutely.
But it's a shame because like we ourselves fight for perfection. And
Yes.
everybody's blessed with certain genetics, but some
Yeah,
have a little bit more or a lot more than us, you know what I
absolutely.
mean? And then when we see that person, it's like, damn, bro, like
Yeah.
you got it, dude. Like you really have it, the potential to fucking just be up there, man.
And if you're a coach, you can tell by an individual based on structure. And, when you try to talk to people in the gym who are just regular naysayers, and they're like, man, why aren't you a pro? And you try to break down the exact criteria of what it is to be a pro. And they're like, there's no way. There's no way. And I'm like, yeah, if your abs aren't directly across, they're misshapen or off, or you have body parts that aren't, symmetrical, everything's points in this game. Your body is a giant dartboard of points that they add up.
Hmm.
And when you see an individual who's got that potential, they have like a full chest, full shoulders, great insertions, you know, a small waist and perfect abs going all the way down. You're like, this is somebody that can be a pro, and this is somebody that could actually do very well as a pro. And he was one of those guys.
Yeah. You you just do you do just the online coaching plans, or do you do training in a gym as well?
So sometimes I do training. If you're local, I like to get in with my people. I'm a firm believer. I've had bad experience with coaches and big time coaches to where you're just an email address.
Hmm.
That's it. You're paying money and all you're doing is getting an email per week. Half the questions that you asked aren't even getting answered. There's no way to reach out to them in emergency. You literally have to wait until whenever your next check-in day, make sure that you don't forget some of the questions that you wanted to ask. And it's a real inconvenience because you're paying for a service. So I always tried to hold myself to a standard as far as learn from your past, learn from the mistakes that you made with other coaches and how you felt and how you were treated by them. Now, honestly, we can't appease everybody. It's not going to happen. But I try to make it for the individuals who are with me that you have access to me. I do try to get back to you. I try to not to neglect anyone. Um, to me, that's a very important factor because communication is definitely key, especially with a coach. I want to, solidify that friendship, but at the same time, I do want to keep it professional because I want you to listen to what I have to tell you.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it makes sense. I think face to face is very huge. Yeah, having an email and just one response to it is just frustrating, especially if you felt like you killed yourself for the whole week and you're like, oh, I killed myself. I know these pictures look better, and all I get, and
Right,
all you get is good job, man, or not even good job, but we're like, here's the
right,
plan for next week and nothing else. And you're like, what the
right.
fuck do you
You,
mean nothing else? Like,
you
god
didn't
damn
even get
it,
an
dude.
attaboy. I didn't even get a
Yeah,
thumbs up emoji. I got nothing.
yeah, and I know it sounds like cheesy, but you know what I'm saying? It's look, we kill ourselves, especially when you're in prep, man. I
Yeah,
mean, just something like gives you a little bit more fuel to like keep pushing,
absolutely.
man. Um, I know I worked with a lot of different coaches, man. I remember sometimes I wouldn't get anything other than just like plain thing, and I'm like, I know I improved, or like I send a check in, and I'm like, oh, I know he's gonna say something nice or good because the
Yes.
improvement was there, and it's like check in 4 days, and you're just like, all
And I
right,
mean, we're creatures that we like positive reinforcement, man. Just a little comment, especially during those preps, goes a very long way with the mental state.
yeah,
And as far as going back to working out with individuals in the gym, and I like to do that because a lot of people they miss the concept of I give you a workout plan, but based off of you following that workout plan, there are so many different levels of intensity to follow that plan.
hmm,
Now you can go in there and you can just move weight around, or you can go in there and work out. So when I have people come in and train with me, they're ready to tap out, and I tell them this is working out. All that other shit is moving weight. Anybody can move weight. I see guys move
yeah,
weight in the gym all day long. Slowing down and bringing intensity and focusing on what you need to work on, focusing on that actual body part that you're trying to train, it brings a whole new element. And we're trying to bodybuild. I'm not trying. I don't care about how much weight I can move at a certain lift, unless I'm trying to follow and I'm trying to obviously do progressive overload. But there's times when progressive overload, it's like we need to beat the book, beat the book. Well, sometimes you can't always beat the book, because if that was the case, we would all be moving thousands of pounds at a time.
hmm,
Sometimes it's not humanly possible. So now we need to bring in other factors. And honestly, things need to be done safely, because I always say you're one rep away from doing the wrong thing to getting majorly injured, especially when you're somebody who's trying to reach that top level.
yeah. No,
And
I
day in
agree.
and day out, you're putting poundages and stress on your body. It's like anything else, man. You drive so many miles on a tire, it's going to go bald. You
Yeah, no,
know.
I agree with you. I agree. Now, what about you? When did you first start competing?
So I started competing close to the end of the early 2010s and teens.
Hmm.
Um, I was always wanted to do it. I always had the idea of doing it. At that time, I was hanging out with a group of friends, and we're in a different generation bracket going back to these individuals now. And a lot of people that I was hanging around with would nitpick about people that were doing shows. Oh, he's got a shitty chest. Oh, his arms are small. His back's fucked up. Oh, he wasn't in shape. And these were guys that like weren't in shape to begin with. And I'm like, well, they had the balls to step on stage. They put some work
Yeah.
in and got up there.
Right.
So I said, fuck it. You know what? I'm going to do a show. I'm going to look for a coach in the area. And I didn't want to hire anybody online based off a name. I found a local guy. And it's funny because this is when Extreme Fitness was open.
Mm-hmm. The
Dino's
gym.
Gym when that
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Dino's Gym when that was still around. For those of you in South Jersey, like that was the spot to go.
Were
If
you
you
train?
were
Were you training there during the time Nick Walker was training there?
So I'd seen Nick plenty of times. He was the first time I met Nick, he was 18 or 19 years old, but he had been around the area for a while.
Mhm.
He was always a buzz in this area.
Yeah.
Um, so I talked to two different people and they said the same name and they didn't know each other. So I said, okay, I'm going to hire this guy because you talked about him and you talked about him. He must be decent. I'm very green to this. I have no idea. So I hired this individual and I did a men's physique show. I really wasn't built for bodybuilding at the time. But we did what we needed to do. And I did my first show and I analyzed everything. I took everything in. I asked a lot of questions, which probably it pisses a lot of coaches off, because they don't want to give away trade secrets and they don't want to, give away information and they don't want you second guessing while they're telling you what to do. But I was a student. I wanted to learn. I wanted to know why. And then after the show, I look back at things that were done that should have been done different. And, I reassessed everything. And I'm big on taking notes. I know notebooks are done now. Everything's on the phones, but I was a big notebook guy. I still got a lot of notebooks with a lot of workouts and a lot of stuff written down, a whole little library.
They're old school going on right there.
Yeah. Yeah. Pen
And
and paper.
You said your first show was Man's Physique. They didn't have Classic at that time, correct?
They did not have classic. So either you did men's physique, you did bodybuilding. And this guy actually told me, he goes, you've got a structure that will do a little bit better in men's physique. Bodybuilding, I feel like there's some areas that would really need to be brought up.
And you're tall, so you would have to be like 350 pounds off season.
It would have been ridiculous. It would have been ridiculous. So my first show, I came in third place. I was his first men's physique guy. This was when men's physique was still very new.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even know how to hit the poses correctly. So there was a lot of guys up on stage. I did the South Jersey Classic.
Mm-hmm.
So, you get a lot of guys from the tri-state area coming in. They were all hitting like the side men's physique pose. And I was like kind of just standing forward, looking goofy as shit. And I was like, well, I couldn't hit the poses right, but I was in good enough shape to come in third.
Mm-hmm.
So I was pleased with that.
And how many years did you take off, or did you just continue to keep competing every year?
So after that, I took about 2 or 3 years off to try to put some size on. And at that point, Classic had come back around. And I wasn't at that time somebody who like had to chase the stage every year. I knew that for my height and to be competitive, I needed more muscle. And that takes time. Anybody who thinks that they can just pack on muscle, if you're not a hyper responder, and somebody wrote about genetics the other day on their story, I don't care how much drugs you do. I don't care what you try to put your body through. It's going to take time. And everybody says, it's a marathon, not a sprint. But I see a lot of people trying to sprint, even the ones talking about that it's not a sprint, it's a marathon.
Yeah.
You got to be ready to take the time. Perfect example, Nick Walker. His first show, how old was he? 16, 17? Yeah. Now look, 10 years later, almost 11 years later, that's the way he looks. Mm-hmm. But this man has never missed. He doesn't skip a beat. I've seen him at me and my wife, we saw him and his family at up the street here at a restaurant. He had his bag full of meals. He wasn't ordering off the menu. His plan was not changing.
Yeah.
So
Nick's unique for sure. He's definitely unique. So how'd you do when you first did your first Classic show?
So my first Classic show, I basically took what that first coach taught me. And like I said, throughout those 3 years, I was educating myself. I was still staying in shape. I was still doing things. I just really wasn't going through a prep. And then I told myself, I can prep myself. I'm going to do this show. And as I got closer, then I started feeling like I need somebody to keep an eye on me. I need someone as a second pair of eyes. And this old school bodybuilder from my gym, man, we're still friends today. We're very close. His name's Ron Benson. He was a bodybuilder and he knew all the old school poses and them old school guys, they don't play games. He was like, there ain't no fucking cheat meals. There ain't no fucking refeeds.
Yeah.
You're going to do your cardio. You're going to work out. And this man posed me for so long after my workouts, so long that I wanted to curse him up and down every single day. But you know what's crazy, Pat, is when you're in that zone of wanting to win. I showed up and I beat a guy who the judges had known for years, who turned out to go pro at a national show right after that, and went on to do decent things. I ended up beating this guy because I was shredded to death. I brought a nice package. I ended up winning the overall. I didn't expect it. I didn't know what was going on.
Yeah,
I just knew that I need to get in shape, and I'll follow whatever needs to be done. And yeah, I feel like when you first start off in this game, I call it a game, you really don't know what suffering is
correct.
until you felt it a few times. Then you know what it is. I can tell that I was suffering and I was just rolling with it. And I showed up and I was lean, hard, and shredded. And they were like, yo, you're what we were looking for today. You brought what we were looking for.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, I think I was still only 232 pounds. I was still, not very big for my height.
Right, right, right. But you came in the package that they were looking for
Yeah.
sure. And
Uh,
how many more classic shows you did after that? Because you did it.
uh,
Well, let me ask you this: because you did you go into nationals right away after that, or did you hold back?
so the guy that I was with at that time, he goes, you want an overall classic is pretty new. Let's jump in and try to do a show at the national level
Hmm.
because he had done a few national shows himself. And I went to the North Americans. I came in ninth, and that was a whole different animal. That opened my eyes.
Yeah.
A lot of these young guys who say like road to pro and all that stuff, that road isn't paved in gold. Just so
Right.
you know, that road's got landmines, it's got snipers, it's got all types of shit to fuck you up. You know what I mean? So if you think you just cruising in, and I tell people, listen, I'm cool, man. I'm a cool dude. I'm a big joker in my gym. Guys like, you're huge, bro. And I'm like, yeah. Then you show up to nationals and there's guys that make you look like you don't even work out.
Yeah, a lot of people
You
don't
know?
realize that. I remember
Yeah.
it was funny. I remember I did a podcast with Meadows, and he was cracking up. He's like, yeah, Pat, I was doing all my local shows in the state, and I kept winning all of them. And I'm like, man, I'm pretty good. And then I showed up to the nationals. I said, oh shit.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Rude
it's
awakening.
nationals is definitely a different
Right.
field to mess around with, man. Now are you I think you said you are retired now, right? You are done and concentrating
Yeah,
on
I've sustained a few different little injuries, and I've gotten so far at the national level. My structure is very different from a lot of individuals. You don't see any guys who are 6'5" or taller really at the pro level. Their structure is just so much different. This year I sat down with some judges after the show and I said, listen, what's going on? What's the reasoning here? And they said, listen, you're a big dude. We can't help but look at you. But structurally, when the guy who's 6 foot that's allowed to be in your class walks out, or 6'1", they're that much shorter and their structure is that much more compact. You've got longer limbs, you've got. And my thing is, do I want to be 330, 40 pounds in the off season to try to build that much,
yeah,
size to step on stage? Because my weight cap is 260. It's not comfortable. You ask a lot of these guys, they're not comfortable being that heavy. And a lot of bodybuilders, they only sustain that weight for so long because they know the stress that it puts on them physically. And it's not just, oh, I'm worried about my heart. Like, your joints take a beating.
yeah,
Everything hurts. Your breathing starts to get labored because you're that much bigger of a person.
yeah, yeah, it's true.
I mean, I
Definitely.
love it. I love competing, Pat. It's something that I'm passionate about. Would I ever get on stage again? I feel, you know, maybe someday randomly, but at this point,
You'll get
I've
it. You'll get the itch.
I've done top five at a national show back to back. So I didn't go any higher, and I figured after last year I should have progressed and went higher. But it is what it is, man. Listen, some guys have the right genetics for it, the right structure, the right build. And all I can do is try to take what I have and give it back to individuals, because that's what this is all about, right?
Yeah.
Taking what we have and giving it back. There's a lot of people, and I'm not going to talk negatively about them, but everybody's trying to make a buck off somebody.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm a realist. We all work hard. Bodybuilding is not paying the bills. Bodybuilding is not going to pay your mortgage, your car note, and keep the lights on unless
Mm-hmm.
you are extremely talented
Mm-hmm.
and you get hooked up with the right amount of people. So I understand that my clients are people 9 to 5, punching a clock and working for an individual. So I try to put a good value on myself, but I make sure that I'm giving a product to my people also, so they feel like they're getting a true value as well.
Yeah, no, and I agree. And listen, man, you were winning from you were trying well, you were still winning, even though your placement you always wanted higher, you were still winning on stage.
Yeah,
Now you're winning on stage through your clients
correct.
because their success is worth so much more a lot of times. When they thank you and how happy they are when you brought
Yeah,
them there. For sure. For sure.
especially at the universe. You know, my bodybuilding client, we were trying to suck him down to 198. We wanted him to be a light heavy. That's what we were really aiming for. And I didn't want to start sacrificing tissue for the sake of conditioning. And I know some people are like, well, I'd rather come in flat than coming in too full. And, you know, this guy's structure is amazing. So I didn't want to take away from his structure and fullness because I already knew he was conditioned. But I felt like that little extra close to showtime could have definitely been a negative factor as far as his placing. So I said, let's not worry about the 2 pounds. You're going to be a heavyweight. And he was like, well, dude, in the heavyweight category, I'm at the bottom of the bracket. I'm giving up 20 pounds to guys. I said, I had to have a good talk with him because, you know, guys, you get rattled at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a real good conversation. I said, who the fuck is going to beat you? And he goes, huh? I said, you look like a fucking cartoon character, bro. Nobody's going to fucking beat you. You know that, right? And he's like, nah, I don't know that. I said, Tyrone, nobody's going to beat you. You're going to win. You know
Yeah.
that. And it souped him up. So the confidence was there. And then when he won his class and then won the overall for bodybuilding, that just let me know, hey, you know what? There's a lot of people that like you and a lot of people that don't like you. For the people who are cheering for you, they're cheering for you even more because you just brought a guy in to win the overall. And now the naysayers see you're putting out a product.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I'm sure that was very
and that
exciting.
made my day. Even though I was losing that day and only came in fifth, watching his family, watching him, and seeing him get that award, it was like, yeah, man, this is what it's about, you know.
That's good shit. That's good shit. So, what would be your advice to, let's say, the beginners? Let's start with the beginners. So let's somebody's new. Let's say somebody's newer to the gym, right? They're just kind of getting into it. They want to get in shape, whatever it is. What would be your advice to them?
So one of the biggest things is don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't have that fear or that intimidating factor of walking into a foreign place, um, and feeling like you don't belong, and or not wanting to learn and ask questions. There's always somebody in there who's going to want to help you out. A lot of people say, hey, man, you know, they send me DMs like, hey, I saw you in the gym, but I didn't want to ask you any questions. You look like you're in the zone. And I like write back to them, listen, man, come up to me whenever you want. Say hello. And they're like, or people will tell me, hey, man, this guy wanted to come up and say something to you in the gym. You know, he wants to sign on with you, but like he was nervous to come and stop you because you look a little intimidating. I'm like, don't let the outside exterior fool you. You know, I'm a gentle giant. I'll sit there and stop my workout and cut it up with you for 15, 20 minutes. It might be longer than that. If I see that you're really intrigued and you're taking in what I'm saying, I'll give you a breakdown of what I have to offer, experiences in the gym, and give you some motivation to keep you rolling in there. So for beginners, don't be afraid to go in. Don't be afraid to work out. And everything's trial and error. Listen, before you walk, you fell a million times. So like anything else, you got to get in there. That's the first step. As soon as you're through the door, then you're good to go.
Okay. What about if we get into somebody, bring them to go into the gym, whatever it is, and they don't know what to do next, like say competition or whatever it is, they're not sure.
So from there, I always say, if you even have the inclination of wanting to compete, the main thing to ultimately do is get somebody, hire a coach. Whether or not you just want to be a lifestyle person, most lifestyle people turn into competitors.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I have a guy now, he was lifestyle, and his wife is going to do a show. And I'm like, hey, man, listen, why don't you do it? And he's like, oh, no, because I know everything's going to change. And then I was like, you've basically been training, eating, and doing everything like a bodybuilder right now. He's like, for real? I said, nothing is really good. Like, you're almost ready as we speak. We're just going to cruise in and make some adjustments. And he's like, no way. And I'm like, yeah, man. So most people are lifestyle. You're already on the border. What it's helping you with is discipline, structure, and accountability. Accountability being the most important one. I can give you the full blueprint. If you don't want to build the house the way the blueprint says, it's going to look completely different. And it's honesty. Accountability is honesty. You know, you have to have integrity. If you're going to mess up and not follow a plan, your coach is there. He's not your dad. You know, he's not the warden. You know, he's not the police. He's not there to scream at you. He's there to make sure that you follow the plan. And if you mess up, you guys have a relative understanding of, I did this. Okay, well, now that's a learning experience. We're going to make sure that we don't do that again. We'll take this and learn from it. And now let's proceed with the plan.
Yeah. Have you ever had any clients that you knew they weren't just in it anymore? Like they weren't following their plans. They really were off. Like how do you approach that situation where they're just not there anymore? They're not even in the mood. Do you like how do you approach that? Because like me personally, I'd be like, listen, man, you're not in this. You want to take a break? See me when you get back into routine. What's going on? Because not everybody has the same go hard or be serious mentality. So how do you kind of approach that situation?
So now I've had individuals who I knew weren't following the plan, but they've told me plenty of times, I'm following everything. I'm following everything. And you know, this is a game of math. This is
Mhm.
math and science. This isn't random, pull it out of your butt. So I end up laughing when I see this occurring because, you know, I'm a student of math. I do math every day of my career. I'm very good at it. So when things don't add up, I spot it very quickly. But if I notice that an individual who's been pushing and then all of a sudden they lose that luster and I can see them, you know, starting to putter out, especially if they're getting ready for a show, I'll let them know and we'll just have that real serious talk. And unfortunately, it hurts because you want to see everybody follow through.
Yeah.
And there's no playbook on this. I think that somebody needs to come up with the prep handbook 101, which is going to have different chapters on what to expect, one being psychological, you know, another one being physical, and a bunch of other chapters all in between of warning signs, you know, relationships, all
Yeah.
that stuff, because
Yeah.
the mental will get you. You know, a lot of people can deal with the tired, deal with the hungry. It's the mental that breaks them down. You know, the refrigerator whispering to you at night, you know,
Mhm.
the scoop of peanut butter that touches your lips, and the next thing you know, half a jar is gone. You know, because people do weird stuff, man. When you're
Yeah.
hungry, you want to fill the void, and you always try to compensate and say, I'll do 20 extra minutes of cardio.
My God. Yes. Yeah.
I'll pop an extra cleanse, you
Hmm.
know, I'll do another T3. There's
Hmm.
always something extra to be done instead of just the work.
Hmm.
Chances are you're not doing the extra 20 minutes of cardio because the cardio you're doing already sucks.
Yeah.
So it's just having that real talk conversation with the individual and giving them a perspective. And sometimes people just burn out. You know, some people can push hard and just, you know, drive on through, and then other people they can't. And it's nothing against those individuals. A lot of people, I feel like they see social media these days. They see Chris Bumstead, cameras flashing, him oiled up, jacked to the fucking gills, and they're like, I can do that. I want to do that.
Hmm.
Until they're like 8 weeks out, they're like, this shit's getting tough. And I'm like, you got 8 more weeks of it, my man. Time to suck it up because we're going to be hitting it hard. And, you know, they don't understand that. So that's where Prep 101 is going to come in. Maybe we can do an Aries collaboration on that book, you know, an ebook.
Oh my God. Last thing I'll get is fucking and that's when you get people, well, can I return the book and get refunds? Because this and this and this didn't add up and this didn't
Yeah,
add up.
right.
So
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, it's definitely listen, man, it's not for everybody. You know what I mean?
No.
That's just the bottom line.
And social
Um
media has made things very glamorous.
yeah,
you
Yeah,
know,
I
because
agree.
you see these top individuals. These are some of the top people in the world, you
And
know.
it's not even just that, man. It's just the everyday gym goers with the right lighting, right angles,
Yes,
create. See, it's frustrating because there are people who aren't hyper responsive, right? But they do the work and they do need a little bit more time. So I'm sure for them it gets frustrating seeing things on social media, which like, wait a second, man, how come that guy can look this good? But you don't know the person's like social media picture won't tell you the weight, won't tell you the height, won't tell you what angle they
exactly.
were in. I mean, in reality, that person could literally be 150 pounds.
Yes,
You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of things that get missed and compared to the real life, man. And the clients aspect, it's tough, man, because listen, as the market gets, it's not even saturated market. It's just people that shouldn't even be in a fucking market or in a market because, um, you know, the reality of the situation is you flip through anything, everybody's technically a coach.
right.
Everybody's technically a coach. So it's you're always you're always battling versus the fake product
Right.
that's out
And
there.
I always say this: if you're good at what you do, you don't need to advertise. Me and another coach were just talking about this.
Mm-hmm.
If you're good at what you do, you don't need to advertise. People are talking about you. People are searching you out. And that's why you see like these people popping up on social media and it's like sign up for bullshit training. Buy one, get one half off. Buy the first month, get the second month. Why are you giving specials? Especially if you already have clients already. You're now telling your other clients, I'm giving newcomers signing on a discount. I'm not going to give you the same service, but
Yeah,
they're going to get a discounted
yeah.
rate.
They're
So,
they're not realizing what they're doing.
and my thing is, if you have such a great product, it's going to hold its value. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I
You're not
agree.
getting a Mercedes SL 550 at Toyota Corolla prices, but people
Yeah,
want to act like I'm going to give you the Mercedes, but I'm going to give you the Toyota rate.
yeah,
Well, listen, it ain't happening, Jack.
yeah.
Save
I
your
agree.
bullshit.
I
And
agree.
you know, especially if you're a local coach, you see the same coaches. We see this. We see each other. We see who we're bringing. You know, there's a lot of people who claim to be coaches. I don't see them at the shows. I don't see any clients. You know,
Yeah,
so
yeah. It's definitely unique, man. But
I'd
yeah,
rather
dude.
have retention and have a good client basis than people signing on just so I can get their money for them to disappear because I'm not really doing them a service.
No, I agree, and that's because
Yeah,
the reason the way your purpose is a lot different than others. You know what I'm saying?
right.
There's it's like a business model, right? Your business model is legit. It has reasons, and it actually has a purpose of helping people versus other business models just to kind of get the money and so
And for
forth.
anybody watching, Pat, just so they know, I'm either loved or hated. Some people like my approach,
That's not
some people
everybody.
don't. If you want a cheerleader and you want someone to puff you up, I'm not the dude. I am the straight, tell it to you how it is. This is how it goes. If you want it raw and uncut, I'm going to give it to you. That's how I was raised. That's how things were brought up to me. And that's how it was given to me. I'd rather you tell me how it is than bullshit me because you're not doing me a service by bullshitting me through it. If I'm
Yeah, no,
fucking up, tell me I'm fucking up.
yeah,
Let's get back on track. You know, I'll be soft when it's time to be soft, but for the most part, you come to me because you want a product, you want a result. You've seen the people. I'm not cold calling individuals. Yeah, Pat at Aries, would you like to sign up? I've got some
right,
training. I can get you on stage. You reach out to me. You've seen what I've put out. You've seen the individuals. That's what I'm going to give you.
yeah.
Strap on the seatbelt. Let me drive. It's going to be a fast ride.
I like it. I like it,
Yeah.
Mark. So, guys, there you go. And we're not gonna call Mark anymore. We're just gonna call him Stretch. That's just we do it. It's Stretch.
Stretch
Um,
Armstrong.
it's always a pleasure, Stretch. I've known you for a long time, man. And just like you mentioned, you're right to the point, man. Listen, you're not here to be nice. You're here to give results, and you're stern. That's the right word I would like to use. You're
Yeah.
stern.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
If somebody's not ready to have somebody coach them that's stern and wants results, then that's then that's not the decision. You know what I'm saying? But sternness means there's caring and the person wants the right results for you.
Correct.
Because listen, at the end of the day, the person succeeds or doesn't succeed, they still pay you, right?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So
Right.
the person that's being stern isn't afraid of losing the clients because he's being stern. He just wants the best results. The person
Absolutely.
that's pulling back or babying the person and so forth, they're just trying to keep taking money. They're not really worried about the results. So,
And I've heard coaches say that about some individuals. You know, they're a check every month, and I'm like, man.
yeah, and it
I mean,
happens.
okay,
It just happens,
yeah,
man.
right.
Um, but we separate. In whatever business we do, we separate ourselves by the quality and the product that we put out. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? If it's from you, from excuse me, the clients consistently on stage, to me, to what I carry on the shelves and so forth. So,
absolutely.
there you go, guys. Stretch himself. You could always reach him out. He'll be all tagged and everything else that gets posted. And Stretch, always a pleasure. We'll be back
Listen,
doing this
I
again.
can't thank you enough, Pat. I just want to finish this out by saying the thing that you've done the most with bringing the community together, bringing a lot of individuals under the Aries banner, I want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
You've got a great roster of talent, young to old like myself, and everything in between. And it's made a great impact, and it's continuing to grow. And I'm watching the growth, so I'm glad to be a part of it. And I'm thankful that you've taken the time and you've jumped out the window to put this out there for everybody. Because if it wasn't for you setting it up, it wouldn't be possible. So you put your balls on the table, you risked it, and now it's starting to pay off, and it's growing and growing and growing. And this is your baby, and it's beautiful to see what it's developing into.
Yeah, I always say, I'm only as the brand is only because I don't say me. The brand is only as strong as the people that make it, right?
Yeah,
And we are all bodybuilding. There's power, there's in fitness, but the individuals that make the brand from their quality, their high level, right?
right.
That's what creates the brand to be stronger and stronger. And yeah, man, listen, bodybuilding, all of us should be together. You know how nobody needs to fucking like each other, but we're here to
Yeah,
help people. That's what
right.
we're the same. And we work out hard, we follow the plan. We are an example to what other individuals should look up to, outside of
100%.
magazines, right? So,
Yeah,
that's what we give back to them. We show them that, you know what I'm saying? We show them what that
absolutely.
is. We show them what teamwork is and what people coming together, how fun it could be, man. So yeah, thanks, Stretch. Thanks
Yeah,
for being part of the team as always, man.
absolutely.
All right, brother. We'll talk soon,
My
all
man,
right?
thank you for having me on.
You got it, my friend.